Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine before you even saw the danger? That's exactly what happened when my 7-year-old son, Liam, refused to step inside our home after school one afternoon. I watched him clutch my hand tightly, his face pale, and then he pointed trembling at the second floor window, my bedroom window. Behind the curtain, there was a silhouette of someone watching us. My name's Sarah. I'm 36, a single mom living in a quiet Seattle suburb, trying to balance remote work with raising my little boy alone since the divorce. We have a cozy 2-bedroom townhouse. Nothing fancy, but it's home. That day should have been normal. Liam usually runs inside to greet me with a smile. But this time, he froze. I asked what was wrong, but he just stared at that window, refusing to budge. I felt my heart drop. I knew no one else was supposed to be in the house except my younger brother, Jake. But when I called him, there was no answer. I pulled Liam close, dialed 911, and braced myself for what was coming next. What I found inside wasn't just terrifying. It was a betrayal I never saw coming. And it all started with one reckless decision. But before I tell you everything, you need to hear what happened that night when I wasn't there. I never imagined that trusting family could lead to my worst nightmare. But that's exactly how everything began, with what I thought was a simple, reasonable decision. My name is Sarah, and I'm a 36-year-old single mom doing my absolute best to hold it all together for my 7-year-old son, Liam. We live in a modest 2-bedroom townhouse just outside Seattle, in a neighborhood where kids ride bikes down quiet streets and neighbors wave hello from their porches. It's peaceful, almost too peaceful sometimes. Since my divorce 2 years ago, it's been just the two of us. No backup, no partner to share the load. I juggle my remote marketing job with school runs, bedtime stories, and making sure Liam knows he's safe and loved. There's this delicate balance I try to maintain, and it's exhausting. Every day feels like walking a tightrope. Then came the opportunity I couldn't pass up. A big client, the kind of account that could stabilize our finances and finally give us a bit of breathing room. The catch? I had to be in Portland for a high-stakes presentation, just one night away. I agonized over it. Leaving Liam alone with anyone felt impossible. But this job, it wasn't just about money. It was about building a future where we didn't have to worry about the next bill, about food on the table. It was the kind of chance I had to take. That's when Jake stepped in. My younger brother. Jake's 30, a free spirit who's never been great with steady jobs. He's lived all over the country, chasing whatever adventure caught his eye. But despite his wild ways, he loves Liam. They've always had a bond, one filled with laughter, goofy dances, and spontaneous weekend trips that Liam adored. Still, I knew Jake wasn't exactly the responsible adult type. Rules weren't his strong suit. He'd often brush off my reminders and do things his way, the easy way. But when I looked at my options, I realized I didn't really have one. I gave Jake a long list of instructions, emergency numbers, Liam's bedtime routine, how to use the security system, what snacks were allowed, and a strict no visitors rule. He rolled his eyes but agreed. I made him promise to stay the entire night. That morning, Liam wrapped his little arms around my neck and whispered, "I'll take care of Uncle Jake." His faith in my brother made me smile, but deep down, I felt uneasy. When I left, I watched Liam wave at me through the window, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit our lives. Jake sent me a picture that afternoon. Liam buried under a mountain of pillows, juice box in hand, smiling like nothing was wrong. For a moment, I allowed myself to breathe. Maybe I'd been overthinking it all. But that night, the calls went unanswered. No texts, no goodnight message from Jake. My gut tightened with every missed ring. I told myself Liam was probably asleep, that Jake's phone was just off or forgotten somewhere. But the silence gnawed at me, growing louder with each passing hour. Little did I know that silence was the calm before the storm. Because what Jake did that night, the choice he made, it wasn't just careless. It shattered the one thing I'd sworn to protect, Liam's safety. And it all started with letting someone in our home who should never have been there. The moment I walked back through that door, I would realize just how badly I'd underestimated the risk. But before I get to that, there's something else you need to know about Jake. Something that would have changed everything if I'd seen it sooner. I thought Jake would keep my son safe. I was so wrong. That night, every minute felt like an hour. I couldn't stop checking my phone, calling Jake again and again, but every time it went straight to voicemail. No response. My heart sank deeper with each unanswered call. Liam was supposed to be safe with him, my brother, my family. But something didn't feel right. Liam's voice on the phone later that night shattered me. He was scared. He told me he heard footsteps when he was trying to sleep, voices that didn't belong. He said he saw a man, an older man, walking around the house, a stranger. My own son, just 7 years old, wide awake and afraid in his own home. When I asked Jake, he brushed it off. He said it was just some homeless guy he met a couple days ago. Said the man needed a place to crash for the night. Said he wasn't dangerous. But I didn't care about his intentions. My son was left alone with a stranger, someone with a history of mental illness and run-ins with the law. No ID, no phone, nothing. How could Jake be so careless, so reckless? Did he even think about Liam once? I kept picturing Liam, lying there in his bed, hearing footsteps, wondering who was in the house with him. And Jake, the one person I trusted, had opened the door and let that happen. When I finally got home, I saw the silhouette in my bedroom window before I even stepped inside. That figure standing there, watching us, like he belonged. My breath caught in my throat. The house felt colder, darker. Every shadow seemed alive with danger. I called 911 right then, holding Liam close, trying to keep my voice steady while my hands trembled. The police came fast, moving cautiously through every room, flashlights cutting through the darkness. The officers found the man hiding in my bedroom closet. Calm, almost too calm. He didn't resist, didn't have any weapons. But just knowing he was there in my house, in my son's space, broke something inside me. And Jake? He wasn't there. Didn't answer calls or texts. Left Liam alone with this man, then vanished. That night shattered everything I thought I knew about family, about trust. But it wasn't just about fear. It was betrayal. And as I stood outside, heart pounding, watching police clear the house, I realized the nightmare wasn't over. Because what Jake did that night was just the beginning. What happened next? It changed everything. For Liam, for me, and for what our family would become. How do you face someone who put your child in danger? Especially when it's your own brother. When the police arrived that night, I felt like my whole world was crashing down. They moved through my house carefully, flashlights piercing the shadows. No signs of forced entry, nothing broken, no windows smashed, no doors kicked open. That's when it hit me. Whoever was inside didn't break in. They were invited. They found the man hiding in my bedroom closet, calm but clearly out of place. The officers told me everything. He had no ID, no phone, just a tangled past filled with mental health struggles and brushes with the law. But what made my blood run cold was hearing that Jake had invited him in, that my brother had let a stranger, a complete stranger, sleep in the same house where my son was supposed to be safe. I tried calling Jake over and over. At first, he ignored my calls. When he finally picked up, his voice was casual, almost careless. He said he just wanted to help someone who had nowhere to go. Said the man seemed harmless, just a guy in need. I couldn't hold back my anger. Jake, this isn't about charity. It's about my son's safety. You left Liam alone with a stranger. You left him vulnerable. He tried to defend himself, talking about giving someone a chance and not judging. But to me, it was reckless, irresponsible, a betrayal of the trust I'd placed in him. That conversation broke something. How could family, the people who are supposed to protect you, be the ones who put you in harm's way? The same people who should stand by your side when you're vulnerable. That night, I made a decision I never thought I would. I cut Jake out of our lives. No more calls, no more second chances. I changed every lock on that house, installed new security cameras, and upgraded the alarm system. I wasn't taking any more risks. But the hardest part wasn't the security upgrades or the broken trust. It was the pain, the realization that family isn't always safe, that sometimes the people you love most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. I held Liam close and promised him I'd never let anything like this happen again. But deep down, I knew things would never be the same. Because once trust is shattered, it's almost impossible to put the pieces back together. And what Jake did that night was more than a mistake. It was a choice that changed everything for us. What came next forced me to fight not just for Liam's safety, but for our very survival as a family. The hardest part wasn't what happened that night. It was what came after. When the chaos finally settled and the police had taken the stranger away, I was left standing in the quiet house with Liam. The silence was heavy, filled with all the unspoken fears between us. I knew we had to heal, but I had no idea how deep the scars ran. The first step was getting Liam the help he needed. I found a child therapist who specialized in trauma, someone patient, someone who understood the fragile world Liam had suddenly found himself in. Those early sessions were tough. Liam barely spoke, but little by little, through drawings and quiet moments, he began to face the fear that had gripped him that night. At home, I overhauled our security. Cameras installed in every corner, motion-activated lights outside, alarms on every door. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance again. The house needed to be a fortress, a safe haven where Liam could finally feel secure. But safety wasn't just about locks and cameras. It was about teaching Liam to trust his instincts, to know when something felt wrong and what to do. We spent afternoons practicing what to say if a stranger approached, how to call for help, and ways to stay calm in scary moments. Watching him grow stronger gave me hope. Yet the guilt lingered. Every night I wrestled with what if. What if I hadn't left? What if Jake hadn't made that reckless choice? Those thoughts haunted me, threatening to consume the peace I desperately wanted to build. Slowly, I realized that healing meant accepting what I couldn't change and focusing on what I could. I had to be present for Liam, fully, fiercely. Our routines changed. Bedtime stories stretched longer. Walks around the neighborhood became moments of connection. And most importantly, I never left his side when fear crept back. There were days when the weight of it all felt unbearable, but there were also moments filled with warmth. A shy smile from Liam, his small hand clutching mine, his first night sleeping alone again without a single tear. We were rebuilding, not just a home, but trust, safety, and hope. But just as I thought we might finally move forward, something unexpected surfaced. A reminder that the past wasn't finished with us yet. If I could give one piece of advice to every parent out there, it's this: trust your gut. More than blood ties, more than promises, more than history, listen to that quiet voice inside you that whispers warnings when something feels off. Because love isn't enough to protect our children. It's awareness, it's boundaries, it's action. I used to believe that family was safety, that shared blood meant unbreakable trust. But what happened to Liam and me tore that belief apart. My own brother, someone I loved, made choices that put my son in harm's way. I'm still not sure I fully understand why. Maybe it was carelessness, maybe misplaced kindness, maybe something darker. What I do know is that love alone didn't keep Liam safe. Since that night, I've learned that safety has to come first, even when it's hardest, even when it means setting limits on those we hold dear. Protecting your child isn't about guilt or loyalty. It's about courage. Courage to say no. Courage to stand alone if you have to. I want to remind every parent watching that your child's safety is sacred. When you ask someone to care for your little one, be clear. Be firm. Don't let your heart override your head. Look for signs, ask questions, and always have a backup plan. It's not about mistrusting people. It's about respecting the responsibility you carry. There are people struggling in this world, people who need help. I believe in kindness, but kindness without accountability can have devastating consequences. We need a community that supports those in need and protects its most vulnerable. I won't lie, the road to healing for Liam and me hasn't been easy. There are nights when the weight of what happened presses down, when anger and sorrow mix in my chest. Forgiveness feels so far away. There are words I never said, apologies I never received, and wounds that still sting. But I carry all of it with me, not as a burden, but as a lesson. A reminder that sometimes love means protecting fiercely, even when it breaks your heart. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever doubted someone you trusted, felt the sting of betrayal, or wrestled with the fierce instinct to protect your child, I hope you'll share your story. I want to hear your voice, because none of us are alone in this. If you found strength or comfort here, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribing to Revenge Her Way. We tell stories that don't shy away from the hard truths, because healing begins with honesty. Thank you for listening, for caring, and for standing up for what matters most.